Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Cheryl Martin. I'm a National Board Certified teacher with over 25 years of experience teaching and coaching across K-12. I hold dual bachelor's degrees in special education and elementary education, a Master of Arts in Curriculum and Instruction, Master of Science in Administration, and a doctorate in organizational leadership. I've taught across the full span of education from pre-K to 12th grade, including K-3 resource. I've taught first grade general education, CTE computer programming, middle school ELA general and special education, and high school ELA general and special education. I currently work as an instructional coach in the West Valley. I support teachers from diverse backgrounds through a residency style on the job teaching program. And I also teach education courses at Grand Canyon University, focusing on engagement strategies, differentiation, and fostering academic conversations, which is what I'm going to talk to you about today. Here's our objective. I want to start with a simple idea. Walk into any classroom and listen. Who is doing the talking? Because today, we're not just talking about strategies. We're talking about shifting the voice in the room. Our goal is clear. We're going to explore how structured academic conversations and intentional differentiation can ensure that every single student participates and every single student learns in your classroom. Not just the confident ones, not just the quick ones, everyone. Academic conversations are not just turn and talk. They are purposeful, sustained, back and forth thinking on school topics. Students aren't just answering, they're listening, they're responding, they're building ideas together. And here is the key shift. Learning stops being something students receive, and it starts being something that they construct together. And the research backs this up. When students talk about their learning, achievement goes up, memory improves, and engagement skyrockets. In fact, students remember over half of what they actively engage in compared to passive learning. So, when we say as teachers, I don't have time for conversations, the reality is we don't have time not to have conversations. As you watch this academic conversation in action, I want you to think about this. Not what the teacher is doing. You won't even see the teacher, but what the students are doing cognitively. Are they recalling? Are they thinking? This is where the shift happens.
I agree with this because when you're talking, like I think like the teacher trying to get us out and like and how are you supposed to like get those ideas out?
So, if we want our students to think more deeply, we need to give them opportunities to talk at that level. Academic conversations are a bridge that moves students from surface level to deeper thinking. Let's discuss depth of knowledge through something that everyone understands, pancakes. DOK isn't about making things harder. It's about making thinking deeper. Level one is recall. So I'm remembering, identifying, listing, recalling. What are the ingredients in pancakes? What's the first step? It's important, but it's not where the learning stops. Level two, skills and concepts. I'm applying my knowledge. Students are explaining, they're organizing, they're thinking. They're explaining, how do you make pancakes? What ingredients do you mix together in what order? They're not just making sense of it. They're applying the knowledge that they recalled. Level three is strategic thinking. My students are justifying, analyzing, and using evidence. They're thinking, which method makes the best pancakes? A hand or a blender? Defend your answer. Why might your pancakes turn out flat instead of fluffy? Students are thinking critically. And lastly, extended thinking. Students create a plan. They connect ideas over time. For example, design the best pancake recipe for a restaurant and explain why it would succeed. How would you adjust that recipe for dietary restrictions? The content didn't change. We are always still talking about pancakes. We've just changed the level of thinking. Academic conversations take students from what are the ingredients to why does this work to do you agree with this to what is your evidence? And in the same way, we have leveled conversations because not all conversations are created equal. Level one conversation is where students state the information. They just simply say it. I visualize it like this, a one-way arrow. There's no requirement for a partner exchange, just a one-way conversation. Level two, we're starting to get some interaction, some student to student exchange, listening and responding. I visualize it with a two-way arrow. Partners have this expectation of listening and responding to each other. Level three is where the magic happens, and that's what you saw in that video. Now I visualize it like this. It's a never ending circle of an arrow. And on this level, students build on each other's ideas. They challenge thinking. They provide evidence. They make connections. They give counterexamples. It is not a conversation. It is learning in motion. It is thinking behavior. So if it's so powerful, why is it so hard? Well, because students are thinking, well, what if I don't have the words? What if I'm wrong? This feels really uncomfortable. I don't know how to take turns and listen. And the teachers are thinking, oh man, I don't have time for this. I have to get through my curriculum. I mean, how do I manage this? How do I assess the students? What do I do if someone doesn't talk? I just want to give the information myself. It's easier that way. So it's not an instructional shift as much as it is a mindset shift for everyone in your classroom. This is where the differentiation comes in because academic conversations are not one size fits all. We can differentiate the content, what students talk about. We can differentiate the process, how students engage in that talk. We can differentiate the product, how students show learning through the talk. And we can differentiate the learning environment, where and with whom students converse. So let's start with the environment. We don't throw students into complex discussions right away. We start small in pairs. We intentionally think about who is talking to who needs support, who needs a challenge. And we make sure of one thing every single student has a voice. When we have our pairs, we balance academic strengths. Aim for pairs who can contribute meaningfully. Consider personality and behavior. Take into account those social dynamics of your class when you're pairing your students in the beginning. Make sure pairs are close to each other and facing each other. You need to direct students to move their chairs or their bodies to face each other. Now, once you've established this routine, you can start to rotate pairs regularly so students experience different perspectives and collaboration styles. Your goal is to ensure every student has a voice and opportunity to engage in meaningful, respectful academic discussions. And don't forget to make sure that you, as the teacher, are circulating around the room and engaging with your students and providing support and guidance as needed. Now, in the learning environment, time matters. Oh, yes. Structure of time actually creates freedom because when we set timers and give warnings and build in processing time, we reduce anxiety and we increase participation. Students don't shut down, they lean in because they know what's expected. Here are some things to consider. Well, we want to give students time to finish their thinking, so we don't want to cut them off too fast. A few seconds to process before moving on is helpful. Also, Before you just stop abruptly, give a warning. Okay, 30 seconds left. That allows for a smooth transition. But build in that processing time too, so students can feel confident about participating in the conversation. Give them time to think about what they're going to say. We want to let those ideas finish. So we want to avoid those abrupt stops. Give students a few seconds after the time is up to wrap up their thoughts. And to move to the next transition, well, we want to use another countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. A signal that ends and eases the transition to another discussion or to a different activity. Academic conversations belong in every content area. In math, students are comparing strategies, they're analyzing mistakes. In reading, they interpret questions and debate meaning. In writing, they evaluate and refine their ideas. This differentiation, it allows us to adjust complexity. It provides models. It offers multiple entry points. So students are working on the same skill, just at the right level for themselves. So how do you differentiate the content within the academic conversation? Provide sentence, paragraphs, or full essay models. Students need to see what success looks like at different levels. Provide partially completed examples. I can give my students part of the work that's already done so they focus on the thinking, not starting from scratch. I provide varied examples of simple to complex. All students are working on the same concept, but the examples range in difficulty so everyone can engage meaningfully. Using models versus abstract representations. Some students need very concrete models or visualizations, while others are ready to go to the abstract. Both learning the same content in the same room, doing those academic conversations with different representations. We're going to adjust complexity and problems or the text. I'm not changing the standard. I'm leveling the text or the problem so students can access it, providing visuals or labeled steps so students can break down the content, offering different prompts of the same skill. So they're practicing with the same skill, but doing it in a different way. We're offering different entry points to the same concept. Some students could start with a model, some with a real world example. They all arrive to the same understanding. So the process in academic conversations. Well, this is really where your academic conversations can shine. Let's look at some of the processes. Even a simple image can unlock powerful thinking. We move from what do you see to what do you think happened to what evidence supports your thinking. The same picture, different levels of thinking. And that is intentional design. For example, there are many scaffolds to support students with the process of academic conversations. And when we first teach the process, we want to teach with something that has a low cognitive load. When the content is simple, students can focus on having a conversation, not figuring out the answer. So, how do we do this? We can start with describing a picture or comparing cats and dogs. The goal is to start to build student confidence with the process so later they can handle more complex, rigorous content. So, let's do an example. Pictures are a strong entry point for academic conversations because they give all students a shared concrete reference to observe, describe, and discuss. Now, this picture is from the New York Times Learning Network, a website called What's Going On in This Picture. It's free, it's a classroom resource that presents a daily photo without a caption. So let's look at this picture and discuss the different levels of academic conversation. I can start with a level 1 question. Tell your partner what is in the water in the picture. So students share, but they don't really reciprocate the information. They just inform. So they say, there's a guy in the water. This is a great entry point to start your academic conversations as you grow your practice with your students. A level 2 question would have the students apply their knowledge. What do you think happened to the man in the water? Well, we know the man in the water is something has happened, and you may hear students say, I think the man fell in a hole, Or another student respond, I think the man is hiding from the police. Now, that's it. But the evidence of listening and sharing ideas is there. When we go to a level 3 question, what is the most likely reason the man is in the water? Use evidence to support your thinking. Well, now we start to hear multiple exchanges between partners. Notice I asked to support their evidence with their thinking with evidence. So I may hear students say, I agree he could be hiding from the police, but why not just go to the doorway or get lost in a crowd instead of being in that stinky water where he can't breathe? Then there's a rebuttal. Oh, I disagree. I think he's doing it on purpose. It's the perfect hiding place because no one will look for him there. And then they add another piece of information. Hey, wait, maybe he's not hiding at all. Maybe he's just a guy who fixes the road and there's a broken pipe. As you can see, the conversation becomes much more robust and reciprocal. Now, for our students who have a hard time initiating conversations, sentence starters can be a great idea. It can be embedded throughout all the activities. This is a way to get students talking with academic conversation. These starters get them thinking deeply, get them started, but you need to teach them explicitly and revisit them often so students can use them naturally. You may want to start with 1 or 2 and then add on. They pair well with lots of academic conversation structures, like this next one. Inside outside circle. For inside outside circle, I give my students an article to read and a prompt that they have to answer. I prepare index cards and I give them blank index cards for them to write on. And I assign roles. One student is A, one student is B. Now here's where the sentence starters come in. They've read the article and I ask students who are A, finish the sentence according to the text. And you have to finish the sentence. B students, finish the sentence if students don't get regular sleep. So one student has their A card, the other B student has their card, and we go to an inside-outside circle. A students stand on the inside, B students stand on the outside, and they face each other. And they read their answer on their card. And they rotate and they repeat. Now, this activity gets every student talking and thinking. Each card gives students a concrete idea to share, which helps everyone participate, even students who are shy or unsure, or the ones who want to dominate the conversation. Using these cards with rotating partners ensures that they talk with multiple peers. They compare ideas. They practice explaining and thinking. And all of a sudden, every student at every level is participating. Now, you've probably heard of think, pair, share. Students think on their own, they talk with a partner, and then they share. Well, think, write, share, pair takes it a bit further and more structured. It's one of the most powerful structures we have, and it's a great starting point for introducing academic conversations in your classroom. So you will give your students a prompt and they think first, they write down what they want to say, and then they share. This ensures that no one hides, no one gets skipped, everyone contributes, and everyone has something to say. Now, in that same vein, we can do something for students for when words are not the entry point, and drawing creates that. There's think, draw, share, pair. So I can implement this. It lowers the barrier. It invites more students into the thinking process. It's a different path. It's the same destination. Here's another great activity to get started with academic conversations. It is tell your partner the steps. The example here is for a social emotional learning lesson on an anchor chart, but you can use the same approach with academic content to help students practice their thinking, their engagement into structured conversation. It will lead to more robust conversations later on. Telling your partner the steps is low pressure, it's structured, and it gets students talking immediately, and it starts to have them become comfortable with talking to each other. Now, when we're thinking about differentiation, a product for academic conversations naturally leads to what the student can create or demonstrate at the end, right? What they know they need to show. So different groups can create different products for or from their academic conversation. For example, a podcast, they could record their conversation, a graphic organizer, a mind map, a video, a brain dump. Their students could write a reflection about their conversation. This flexibility allows students to play on their strengths and their creativity while they still demonstrate their understanding and reasoning through that academic conversation and still staying at that grade level standard. So students aren't just talking, they're processing and they're solidifying their thinking. So, what do we walk away with? Academic conversations increase engagement, they deepen thinking, they improve retention. And with the right strategies, picture talk, structured protocols, sentence starters, we make it possible for every student to succeed. So I'll leave you with this. If you want students to think, we have to let them talk. If we want deeper learning, we have to create a space for it. This week, I challenge you to try an academic conversation. Who is doing the thinking in your classroom?